Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum everyone. Inshallah, in this video, we will talk about how to develop our assessment plan. So the very important parts before we can develop the assessment plan would be we need to have a certain centered planning, as in how do we wanted it to be happening, how we wanted to the course to be taking its way. So the first and the most important part is always about studying the CLO, studying the course learning outcome. So we wanted to know what is the big pictures of the subject, what we want to aspire, what we want to do with the subject. The second, we need to align the purpose of assessment, as in this purpose of assessment should be coming from the course outline. So all of those course learning outcomes should be evidenced as in the course outline, which has been endorsed by our Senate. And then the third would be how to select the appropriate measures and tools. What are the methods that we will be using in order to assess our students? It can be projects, tests, assignment, presentation, portfolios, and whatnot, you name it. Any tools, as long as it is, or it can fairly measure our students' performance or our students' understanding. And the fourth would be how we will be creating the assignment, or how we will be how we will explain the methods, the appropriate measures that we wanted to do to the students or to assess the students, which is we must be providing a very clear task. And the fifth would be how do we develop the summative test, as in there are 4 golden rules of developing a summative test, as in the first would be to be valid, a second reliable, and third is fair, and fourth is flexible, as well as it should be supported by the professionals or the subject expert method. And last but not least would be we need to have a feedback or feed forward in order for our improvement, because yes, everything in this world can be improved. Nobody can just be stagnant. Nobody will be perfect, and our assessment as well, it will not be perfect, because the perfect is always Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's always can be improved. Now we will go to the first and the third, and or the first steps to plan our assessment would be how to construct, or we call it as constructive alignment, which is we must be aligning between the intended course learning outcome and then the assessment tasks and methods, as well as the teaching and learning activities. So we must know what are the intended learning outcomes of the subject. Second, we must know how to achieve that learning outcome, intended learning outcome, or how to achieve that is basically what are the activities that we do, that we will be doing in order to achieve that learning outcome. And the third important part when it comes to constructive alignment would be how to measure the assessment, or how to measure our students. What are the methods that we will be using in order to know whether the subject is understandable or not understandable from the perspective of students. Okay, so we go to the examples of constructive alignment, which is we must study the course learning outcome, and then we need to know what are the assessment methods or tests that we wanted to use, and how to some kind of portray or help the students to know which one, or to be understandable, or to be knowledgeable about that stuff, or not knowledgeable on that subject. So first of all, as I mentioned earlier, we must know the course learning outcome. And this is one of the example in my course learning outcome. One of the learning outcome is to apply the principles of akhlaq in daily life events. So this is one of the learning outcome to apply, which is the levels of in Bloom's taxonomy would be cognitive 3, as in to apply the principles that they have learned in the class or any activities from the instructors or from the lecturers. And then second would be how we wanted to achieve that kinds of applications is by learning lectures and group discussion. And this is the teachings and learning activities in order to make the students get or achieve or obtain the learning outcome. And then how we wanted to know or how we can measure their understanding or not is by having the assessment task or assessment methods. And in this case, how do I measure whether the students understand or can be able to apply the principles of akhlaq in their life is by report writing. So this is examples of constructive alignment. So it's very important for us to know these three things, because it should be aligned, as in it should be parallel together, because the assessment task will not be sufficient if there is no course learning outcome and there is no teaching and learning activities, and it is inseparable. If you want to change the course learning outcome, and then you need to change the other two. If you want to change the assessment test, and then you need to change the teaching and learning activities, as well as to change the course learning outcome. But to change learning outcome is quite difficult, because it has been endorsed. So we can opt to changing or modifying certain things in our teaching and learning activities, as well as methods. Okay, so I think that's it for this video, and inshallah in the next video we will talk about how to create the assignment. Thank you very much. I'll see you later.